Welcome to BizTech's CEO Conversation Show. Today we have a very interesting guest. We have Mark Loughran. He's the Group President of inDrive. Now, inDrive is a global IT and transportation platform and one of the fastest growing online ride-hailing services globally. Now, its services are available in over 700 cities around the world in 47 countries and growing rapidly. To tell us more, Mark, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's just fantastic to be here with you. Yeah, very, very proud of our company and our organization. As you say, 47 countries, over 700 cities, growing fast in our core business of ride hailing. We're launching in some adjacent areas as well with different mobility services. If you just think at the moment, people want to get from A to B and they want to get their stuff from A to B. So there's a lot of demand for services moving people, moving items. I think mobility is just core to us today. Remember all those days in COVID when we were stuck on our own? Well, I think people have remembered how important it is to see their friends, see their family, but also driving economics. Just to comment, those 47 countries, this is very much in the developing market. So if you look, we're the number 2 downloaded ride-hailing app in the world, number 2 to Uber, but we are very strong in the developing markets. Final thing to say in the introduction, our super mission is also about challenging injustice. This comes from our amazing founder, Arsen Tomsky, and we also have the ambition to change the lives of 1 billion people by 2030. So we've got this core technology platform, but actually this social justice is embedded in that. But we also have a lot of other programs to help and support people around the world. So super exciting company to join.
Now, you've got an unusual business model. The passengers actually enter the price that they're willing to pay, and the drivers only accept orders upon agreement. So it's both sides basically have to agree. It's not an algorithm that makes decisions. People make decisions. Tell us about this and how this sets you apart in the competitive landscape globally.
Well, look, I mean, right at the center is that we are people-driven, yeah? People-driven and people-driven. And you're exactly right. So what happens is when the customer opens the application, of course, they see a recommended price. It's helpful for them to orientate themselves for their trip, but then they can put into the marketplace exactly the price that they want to pay. And then the drivers see that, and then they get to bid, sometimes lower, sometimes higher, so this is really a peer-to-peer marketplace. And I think that differentiates us a lot. So from the driver point of view, they get choice because they see about the customer. They see how they've been rated and they see some information about them. But also from the customer point of view, it's incredible. I love it. You see like 4 or 5 bids on your phone, and actually you can choose. You see the rating of the driver. You see some safety statistics. You see what car they have. You see how far away they are. You see a number of other bits of information. So people get the choice. And look, I'm a big supporter of AI. Algorithms are changing our lives for the good. But I think you need to keep the human face in it. And this is our way of doing that. We're very differentiated. And, as a result, we've expanded very, very rapidly.
And I'm going to talk about AI a little bit later on and its impact on all the different stakeholders. But Mark, you're new in the company. You've just been on board since July this year. What objectives have been set for you by the board? What's the global plan now?
Yeah, look, I can tell you 5 months feels now quite old. When you're in a scale-up organization, what do they say? It's like dog years, yeah, dog months. Every month feels like a year. Look, it's an incredibly vibrant and dynamic organization. You can only imagine with the scale that I just talked about. So there's a few parts to my remit. One really important one is about that we've just talked about scaling is about helping the company to scale and mature. You know, all my career has been in multinational organizations, a couple of big American ones, Honeywell, Microsoft for around a decade, a couple of big European ones. Nokia obviously was in the handsets. Now it's the infrastructure backbone to everything that we're doing that's connected. And GlaxoSmithKline was an incredible company. I started my career there. So really taking all of the knowledge that I've got from those companies, which had very strong processes, you know, how you run a strong center, doing all the great things with strategy, resource allocation, holding the markets to account, sharing best practice, all development of the product and services. So how you have a strong center, but also how you have very strong markets organizations. You can't be in 46 countries and run it from the center. And we are decentralizing to make sure we have super strong local teams, which also plays to our strategy. If you look from a business point of view, ride hailing that we've just talked about needs to be strong, needs to grow strongly. Yeah, that should be strong double-digit growth. The opportunity is incredible. But look at the adjacent opportunities in delivery, either peer-to-peer delivery of items, small, medium enterprise delivery. You know, how often are we clicking on our phones and then we expect something to just come to our door? It can be food,
Absolutely.
It can be an item. I mean, look, people are buying really quite significant items now. Yeah. And cargo, you know, how does stuff get from A to B in the mid-mile? So we're looking at all of those areas. And then the final area that I'm involved in, which is really exciting, is our Envision projects. So these are the projects about changing the lives of people. And they're in 4 areas. One is in education. One area is in the area of startups. Another one is in sports. And the final area is in arts. And this is really about helping the individuals in those areas, helping children and teenagers, helping students, and also making a bigger impact on society, challenging injustice. So those are the areas that I've come in to be involved in. And I tell you, it's been thrilling and exciting.
Now, I want to zoom in on one particular new area that you're in, new ventures. So that's a venture and M&A arm. And just before you came into the business, in May 2023, you acquired technology and the team from Master Delivery. That's a last mile delivery software platform. Obviously, that's to strengthen your B2B business and alludes to what you just talked about in terms of the ancillary new revenue opportunities that stem from your core ride-hailing business. Now, tell us about this new ventures arm and how is that going to take you forward?
Yeah, first of all, just on that technology, I mean, I'm very close to that team and I've been helping it scale. It's been fantastic. We started off in Kazakhstan because we needed to choose a country and we needed to prove the model. And you know, when you get into enterprise B2B last mile, it's a very different game. It's about SLAs. It's about very effectively using the courier base that you have. It's actually employing and keeping them motivated. You know, if you order some food, you want it to arrive in 25 minutes and you want it to be hot and you need it to arrive to your place. If you're the food delivery restaurant, you're putting out tremendous amount of orders and you need them to be delivered in the right sequence to the right places. This technology helps us do that. We're now, and then I'll come on to new ventures. We're now expanding not to the local countries around Kazakhstan. We're now expanding in Latin America. Why? Because inDrive has an incredible base in Latin America. So we can now help that organization expand to a completely different continent, to some very large market opportunities. They would never have been able to do that alone. You know, employment law, regulatory environment in Brazil, as an example, is very complex. Why can we do that? Because we already have a team that understands the environment. And actually, we've got a load of B2B knowledge and relationships there, so we can give a quick entry. So with that idea, what are we doing with new ventures? The new ventures arm is about finding great companies in single countries that have probably been overlooked. They're not on the VC radar. They haven't been thinking about how they expand around the world. They've probably already got a good product or a good service. And then what we will do is either invest or acquire, of course, with the great human capital that built that company. And then we will help them rapidly scale, both in the country that they're in, but also around the world. And just to comment on our strategic capabilities, you know, we've got tens of millions of customers, which will be hundreds of millions in the near future. We've got our geographic spread, and also we have a vast number of drivers and couriers who are working for us. So when we're looking at where we would invest, I think it makes it obvious if you think, okay, what companies could help solve problems for either our customer base or our driver base? You know, that would be a very obvious place because we'll add tremendous value. But actually, don't be surprised if you see something that feels a little bit out of the box, because what that will be about is there's also thinking about our geographic spread, because that is a great strategic capability for us. So we can also then help a company expand from a geographic point of view. So that's what it's about. And you know, we're looking, we're searching. By the nature, those companies are not easy to find. It's not just about going on the normal databases and listing through the companies. This is about getting on the ground, going into the countries, showing up at the right events, doing a lot of good research and finding those local, let's even call them underdog companies, and working hard with their founders, building their trust and helping them scale. Look at where our company came from. You know,
Siberia,
in the middle of Siberia,
2012. That's when you were started.
one single city, Yakutsk, yeah. And now we've expanded around the world. I think that gives us amazing credibility to then have that conversation with other founders. They could be in Nigeria, they could be in the Philippines, yeah, they could be in Malaysia. Never worked out how to expand. We will help them do that. It's really exciting.
And that really does sound really, really interesting. I want to come back now to the conversation that we touched on a little bit earlier, which is you're a technology business. Artificial intelligence will change the way you do business. Now, how do you see the impact of AI on a couple of key areas: your bottom line, your employees, and your customers globally?
Yeah. So as I said, we want to, whilst in the core of our business model is this choice, yeah, passengers choose drivers, drivers choose passengers. But if you just step a little before that process, there's just some very, very important parts in our technology stack. So for instance, I mentioned there's a recommended price. You know, how do you get a recommended price right that could vary at any time of the day, by any city, by different parts in a city, by different country? I think we will use AI and AI models and algorithms more and more to help us on that. And look, by getting that more accurate, you get a fair indication for the passenger, the customer to choose, but also a fair price for the driver. So I think that's super important right in the middle of the model, and one of the main areas. Secondly is about helping the drivers earn money. And this is about the choice of what offers they see. Because of course, you don't see every offer in the country or even in the city. You know, we have to have an algorithm that then makes the choices about that and puts people in the locality of each other. So a second super important area. I think third, when we get into what I was talking about, scaling and then looking at new businesses, imagine the amount of customer data that we have. So when we're looking at new opportunities, adjacencies, I think actually the AI models, the technological models that we can apply to that are going to be super important when we value the acquisitions, and then when we also understand more and more and more about how we can help those businesses scale, where they will add value to our customers. So I think in those sorts of areas. And then finally, I think on consumer marketing, more and more micro segmentation, very personalized marketing is what's needed. So we're putting in a lot of effort on the marketing side to make sure it's personalized as possible. And that's a lot about technology and a lot about AI.
Now, Mark, one of the key things that is characterized your business is really about hyper competition. So you've got, as you said, you're the #2 most downloaded app after Uber, but then you have regional competitors around the world. So in Southeast Asia, for example, it's Gojek and Grab. How are you adapting to that competition in various markets? Because again, you have certain markets that perhaps are more focus areas than others.
Yeah, this links back to the comment I was making on the decentralization, having a strong markets organization. And you asked me, one of the things that the board has asked me to do, well, actually, is bring in this idea. And actually, I believe that's how to do it. In all the global multinationals I've been in, they've all been very strong global multinationals. But actually, when I've been in the local, regional or local country team, they have felt very, very local. And inDrive has had an incredible success in being able to launch from the center around the world. But actually now, building these strong markets organizations, this is exactly how we're going to do it. Because there's one way to compete with the proposition that you already have, with strong marketing execution and working very, very strongly with the drivers and couriers. So that's one part about strength of local execution. But actually, the other part of it is really understanding the insights in the market. How people want to be able to pay is a super important example. Or I mean, I won't mention the country, but I was on a call with one yesterday, and we were talking very specifically about developments in the application that would be specifically relevant for their country. Actually, it was all about when the customer sees the driver and having some additional information that would be very relevant for their country to help the customer choose what driver's right for them.
And that would be culturally specific.
Yeah, absolutely. There were some very specific insights, actually. And so then I think the key is you need one global platform, right? You can't branch a global platform, because then that's a disaster from the central management of it. But what you can do is have the ability to personalize the front end of it, to be able to turn on and off options. So that will be also the next area. So a lot of power in the markets, a very, very strong center, and then making sure the product development has the opportunities for localization on the interface, on different services, and the look and feel to make it locally relevant. And look, I think as we do that, it will just bolster the core proposition that we have. The second big area is then this scaling of adjacent products and solutions and other companies that we buy. Honestly, I think we have an incredible opportunity there to scale all sorts of services that make life better and easier for our customers and add value to our drivers. And I think this will watch this space. This will be a differentiator for us.
Now, Mark, you achieved unicorn status in 2021. Valuing the company at 1.23 billion. In February 2023, you raised 150 million in a hybrid instrument from one of your earlier investors, General Catalyst. And that's for marketing and growth and expansion to new verticals, which you're doing right now, which we've just discussed. So what are the plans for the company moving forward? Is an IPO on the cards as market sentiment improves potentially in 2024?
Yeah, I don't want to talk about dates or timelines because that would be inappropriate, but absolutely, I think we've said before, of course, it's on our mind as part of our development, and I think it's natural. Yeah, that's a way to bring more capital, and also just as we grow and as we expand, it would be the natural step. So yes, that's definitely on our mind. But what's more important than even that is actually how we do all those things that I just talked about. Yeah, how we grow our share and our competitive position in the markets that we're in, how we scale. You know, you mentioned one of them, the new technologies that we've acquired, how we find those amazing companies to be able to scale, because actually that's the basis. Whenever the market conditions are right will be when the market conditions are right for something like an IPO. But what you need to have is very, very strong fundamentals. Yeah, so a strong growing top line, strong positions in specific markets, a differentiated product, and a strong strategy. So we have those, and we're going to continue to execute those week by week, month by month, to make sure we're in the strongest position possible.
Mark, it's been a great conversation. I think it's really enlightened me into inDrive and your strategies moving forward. But before you leave, any final thoughts you'd like to leave the audience with?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, as you said, 5 months for me, it's been one of the best decisions of my life. You know, the inspiration from my boss and founder, Arsen Tomsky, the amazing people who built the platform and the company that I now get the pleasure and the privilege to be part of. And the growth opportunities for us is phenomenal. But within all of that, for the first time in my life, I'm in a company with an incredibly strong purpose. We didn't talk so much about it during this interview. I'd love to come back and talk to you about it in the future. This, by 2030, changing the lives of 1 billion people, and our super mission about fighting injustice. I can tell you, when you get up every day and you know that part of your commercial success goes to fund and change the lives of people as well, and this strong purpose that runs through the business, I tell you, it gives you a different spring in your tail. Yeah, it gives you a different excitement about what you do, and those two things together make it an incredible company to be part of.
Mark, I think we must have you on another show that we have called Community Conversations, where we basically get corporations who are focused on doing good. And you know, I think that would be a great way to have you on the show again. Thank you very much for taking your time to be on the show today.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure to be part of the show, and thank you to everyone who's listening. And you know, I look forward to that opportunity with the community team.
Now, we've been speaking to Mark Loughran. He's the Group President of inDrive. I'm Brian Fernandez, and you've been watching and listening to BizTech's CEO Conversation Show. Catch the conversation and much more on www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.
Thank you.